We go back thousands of years, my family. They go back thousands of years as to belonging to this area, and which is why I know so much about it, because it was orally passed down to me through my father, and I've done that with my children. They all know the importance of this area. And this place here we call Mulliup. The hill that you see behind me is Mulliup, and the one behind her is Trudup. They're two sisters. They belong to the kangaroo people, which are the Sterlings. Myangorup we call them in Noongar lingo. We call all this area Mulliup. And they were promised to the same man that came from down Cape Ridgeway. And he travelled up to where the kangaroo people picked his two brides out, which happened to be the two sisters, and they were taking them back down to Warriup. And when they got so far, they realised that the fellow that picked them, the bloke that married them, was the devil himself, the Chunuk. And he lived over at Warriup. And they stopped in their tracks and they realised, and they had a bit of a chat and said, look, we've got to make a run for it. So they ran straight on the foot range over there. They represent the devil's footsteps as he followed them along. And he caught them here. And their mother is Yulbrup, which is the peak behind you, is Mount Many Peaks. Her name's Yulbrup. Before they got there, he caught them here and turned them to stone. The lake systems themselves were what the devil left behind, his footsteps. And the water that you see in the lake system, the entire lake system, are the tears from those two girls.
It's really a multi-component archaeological complex, this place. It's really, there's a rock shelter here under the granite that has evidence of human occupation. We don't really know exactly how long ago that occupation goes back to, but that's part of the investigation, is to do some excavations and determine how long people have actually used this area.
They're artefacts that indicate very clearly that people were here thousands and thousands of years ago, and they were making their tools. There's quartz, there's all kinds of things at the top of this rock, and it makes a lot of sense when you get up to the top and you have a look out over this magnificent lake area.
It's very sort of structured sort of occupation here. That's the sense that we get, because you've got such a range of different micro environments coming together, with the granite dome and the wetland and the hills in the background.
Obviously, where there's water, there would have been lots of animals that come to drink, so handy for a food source for the people who lived here. But also, this particular area is on a walkway, if you like, or a walking path, because our roads, the roads that we have today, many of them have been made from old Aboriginal walk trails. But it was traditional for Aboriginal people to always keep large outcrops in sight as their pointers. From the top you can see Mount Many Peaks, you can see the Sterlings, you can see the Parongarups, and so it actually was a point for people to actually find their direction.
So we've found evidence of this human history here in the form of stone artefacts, which basically litter the whole complex, the whole area, all around the wetland. Lots of tools, lots of different sort of raw materials that were used to create these implements. We've found evidence of scarred trees, that people have actually used stone axes to carve out implements for water carrying or seed collecting. At the same time as this archaeological investigation is going on to document the human history, we're looking at environmental conservation and the biodiversity conservation, which from a traditional sense goes hand in hand in many ways, because when you're talking about looking after the culture and looking after the heritage associated with this place, you're also talking about looking after the land. So that means, largely looking after the wetland complex and the ecosystem associated with it, which at a practical level is a lot of weed control, maintaining the sort of quality of the native vegetation, so that the system can, actually balance itself out through, maintaining the water level, the freshness of the water, maintaining that habitat for all the animals that live associated with this area.
One of the projects is revegetation of the front paddock as well as the back paddock. So across the back paddock is Lake Pleasant view. So what we've done is we've worked with TAFE, and we've got about 30,000 seeds and direct seeded the actual front paddock and the back paddock of the area. So getting a lot of the young people out and working with the elders in the area to revegetate this property.
Because Noongar people have been, and Aboriginal people all over the country have always been caring for country, and this gives us the opportunity to practice that on a select piece of land.
Each time we come out here we find that she's healed just a little bit more and a bit more and a bit more, and I think it's because we've taken an interest in it and we're actually now coming back to restore it to as much as possible to what it was.
So it's all sort of interrelated. It's looking at the environmental condition and the cultural values, but the process that we do that is really a social program of where the elders are in control. They own this property. They guide and direct not only the environmental work but the archaeological work.
Our elders and the Heritage Reference Group are heavily involved in all things from start to finish. We've had some major projects, some minor projects, and it's really created this sense of ownership, of wanting to be involved, of loving the place and wanting to do the right thing by it. So it's given them back a real sense of pride, I think.
And one of the things we're trying to do here is look at the broader cultural landscape. And that means looking beyond the archaeological work and the sites, the specific sites on Lake Pleasant View, many peaks, and sort of seeing what are the connections culturally, to the surrounding landscape.
Our cultural protocol is pretty much to work with elders, to listen to the stories and the oral history, to walk with them and to talk with them, to get an understanding of country, just to be on country. So the work that we're doing now pretty much replicates that cultural belief.
The mountains and the hills you see, we call them cart. We also call our heads cart. So that's the relationship. And water is bilya. Bil is when it's still water like this, or bilya is running water. We also call our mothers when they nurse us and their milk is running. That's bilya. So that's a part of us. We cherish them, we respect them. When we're on country, particularly walking in the bush, cart, the hills, they've got eyes like we have, so they watch our every move, which is why we respect our country. We can't do anything wrong in our country. We've got to respect it and we've got to look after our country.
Welcome Victoria to Albany, and especially this part of the area. So this part of the area is very special to the Noongar people of Albany. And what we're going to do is look for some golden Sydney wattle, is what you call this stuff, and it's a weed.
This one's a native one.
Yeah.
It looks similar.
No vein, one vein.
See, it's very distinct single vein with a red stem.
Yeah.
So don't pull that one.
This one got
Pull
two
that
veins.
We're walking through the bush here. We'll come around with you, pulling out this plant.
And we've got school kids out here, TAFE kids out here, NRM officers out here, archaeologists out here, and people specialists in water conservation and ecology from all the different departments. So it's a really good effort to try and maintain this wetland system and protect all the values that are associated with it.
And it's not just about archaeology, it's about natural resource management as well. And just basically develop a model where it engages the community, gets everyone involved, including youth, including elders, including NRM, everyone.
So in the two small test excavations on the property, we found in excess of 500 stone artefacts, Most of the artefacts we are finding are the debris or the waste material that comes off in the manufacture of stone tools, formal implements that were used for a variety of tasks. One of the exciting discoveries we've found on this property are the number of backed artefacts or blades that have been recovered from the excavations. These tools are formal implements that were first appear in the Australian archaeological record sometime in the mid-Holocene, between 7,000 to 5,000 years ago.
So basically we collect the artefacts per spit, and once we collect them we bring them back to the lab and we analyse them, so basically just measuring the artefacts and weighing them and recording any other attributes that we need to, and we add that into a database, and that way we can use it to integrate with other artefact data that we have from the property and from the region. And we did get a radiocarbon date from one of the excavations that was done last April. That was 3,000 years old. We're doing community archaeology, so we always ask what the traditional owners want to do with all this material, so everything is in their control, basically, even all the data and everything. If they don't want me to use it, then I won't use it. It's all up to them. Sometimes they may choose to house and exhibit some in the museum, and most of the time we'll just rebury them.
When you have community-controlled, community-owned sort of programs like this, they really work because the number of groups that are involved integrate really well, and everyone takes part of their own special component, but together, you're actually making a difference.
But it's also some leadership. We're actually demonstrating some leadership in this regional community to say, well, this is how we can do it, and these are the benefits for all of us. And I think, you go back there in 5 or 6 years when these seedlings that we just planted take off, and it'll be hopefully a different landscape with some really good partnerships.
So it really is a sort of contemporary way of the traditional land management practice, by having the elders and the group manage and oversee while the young people come in and do all the on-ground work and practical things while they're learning about culture and history and land care. So we basically turned a bad situation into a very positive situation.